General, do you still remember the question that was asked by Commissioner Baloyi? The one that I said you should apply your mind to during lunch? Or do you want the Commissioner to repeat the question?
Yeah, no, she can repeat it, Commissioner.
Thank you.
The problem is always to remember the question that I asked.
Well, I might step in to remind you. This is after you had dealt with those 3 points of contentions in paragraph 171 to 173. And then Commissioner Baloyi asked, why are you telling us this? And then I said, perhaps you should be allowed to deal with page 174, paragraph 174, where you say, upon his appointment in July 2024, but at a later stage, the minister raised the same points. I gave the minister the same responses and those given to Lieutenant General Sibia. Then I asked to say, can you explain if you have any comment about the resemblance in those 2 issues that are raised, the three points that are raised at 2 different times? Because you say the one is raised by General Sibia earlier on, and then those similar concerns or points are raised by the minister. So linked to that, I know you're going to deal with it later in your statement, but the question has come before. It says, so why are you telling the Commission this? What do you want the Commission to know about?
What's the relevance of the 3 points of contention?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. These points of contention, I think later it will become clear that the objective is to take control of, not leave any room of any docket to lie outside of the control of General Sibia. So, which later you will see when the dockets of the PKTT was required. The objective there was the same, to want certain, if you have control of the whole terrain of dockets, then it means there's nothing that will fall outside that you don't know. And you'll be able to manage whatever you want to do. So the reason is basically just to show that there is interest to have control right from the beginning of all case dockets. So that's the significance of it.
Is this an accurate way of repeating what you are saying, that he wanted to, in these 3 areas of contention, as you call them, he wanted to have an insight into dockets that he had a personal interest in? Is that a fair way of repeating what you're saying?
No, at this moment in time, remember, of course, that time, well, one would do not know what we know now, but you can see the interest is there just to make sure that there is no docket that falls outside the command of the specific person, which is General Sibia. That is the later it picks the reason or objective.
And in 174, where you speak about the minister later raising the same points, the same 3 points, about those 3 areas having to fall under General Sibia, is that a matter? Is that a matter that ordinarily a minister would have a say on or an interest in where the dockets are allocated?
No, surely as a minister, he's supposed not to, But, well, in this case, you could see that he did have interest. But normally or ordinarily, a minister does not supposed to want to know where a specific docket is being investigated. But of course, I think other witnesses will come to say, especially on the case of Sintumbili, the one of the matter of that councillor. I'm sure there will be witnesses that will come to say that the minister directed that this docket must go to Hawks, must move from PKTT to go to Hawks. So, but it's unusual for a minister to do to get involved in the determining who investigate what docket.
And did the minister give an explanation when he raised the same points, these 3 points that they should go to Sibia? Did he give an explanation why he was interested in that and what his reasons are for that kind of selection?
Well, the reason given was so that there is consolidation and control of dockets, which I said no. I don't agree to it. It's fine in the way it is. And of course, further, I think even in the meeting of 27 March 2025, we indicated that in the National Strategic Intelligence Act, there is nowhere where it says crime intelligence must investigate dockets, which I beg to differ with him to say no. But after all, crime intelligence members are members of the police, and they have got any right and entitlement to do any function that is prescribed under Section 205 of the Constitution, unless they don't have training in that regard. Otherwise, any member can do any function that is in Section 205(3) of the Constitution.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. Mdo.
Thank you. You explain that at that time, I think as part of your response, you say at that time you saw these as individual and unconnected views that were expressed by 2 different persons. Am I correct?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And you will at a later stage, when you deal with the part where you say with what you know now, and then you'll make a connection between all of this, the events of the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th of January. There's these requests and all other issues that you tie in together. But just to make sure that we finish with your evidence sequentially, if I can then ask you to continue paragraph 175.
Paragraph 175.
175, yes.
Yes. Throughout my tenure, I generally made every effort to maintain a constructive and professional working relationship with Lieutenant General Sibia, recognizing the importance of cohesion across senior executive of SAPS. Nevertheless, in January 2025, I received a formal invitation from the minister for a meeting, purportedly convened to mediate between myself and Lieutenant General Sibia. This is yet another example of ministerial interference, which shows that the minister had time to convene a meeting to essentially mediate a non-existing crisis instead of prioritizing arranging a meeting to receive a critical briefing of the PKTT, which meeting Lieutenant General Mkonazi and I had been repetitively asking.
Yes, so if I can just ask you to clarify the point you're making there about availability of time for certain things and not for others that are important? What point are you trying to put across to the Commission?
Yeah, what I'm trying to say there is that we may ask for a meeting to brief the Minister on the PKTT and his work. And at some point, General Mkonazi did send me a WhatsApp message where he was telling me that he asked for a meeting with the Minister, between himself, the Minister, myself, General Sibia, and General Kumalo, which he also did ask me to ask the Minister, and I did ask him for that meeting. And that meeting never took place, but instead the one that took place was this one, which was apparently to resolve a problem between myself and General Sibia, and also between General Sibia and General Mkonazi. So between me and General Sibia, I really couldn't find any tangible, really matter that we were resolving. That time could have best be devoted to the briefing on the work of the PKTT. It would have meant much more better for me. Because essentially, I'm sure, I can't even remember, but one of the things we spoke, I think we spoke about offices. This one in this office, the other one don't want that office, you want that office, which for me was really not a material matter.
Had you ever told the Minister that there's a problem between you and General Sibia that he thought necessary to mediate?
Yeah, at some point I did tell him that there is a problem, and I had my proposed solution to it, which he didn't buy into whatever solution, and yeah, he did indicate that he think he will talk to General Sibia over the matter.
So it is possible then, are you prepared to accept, would you be prepared to accept that it's possible that this mediation, it was a good faith attempt to help resolve tension between his executives?
Yeah, it could be attributed to that, but I don't remember us really talking to those real issues that I told him about. We spoke about these other matters that, according to me, was not serious matters.
Okay. So he can't, I mean, I guess on the face of it, the way that it is in the paragraph, on the face of it, it looks like a minister who, for no reason whatsoever or no obvious reason, is involving himself in issues between his executives. But from what you're saying now, from your explanation, it may well have been, at least you would accept that, may well have been a well-intended gesture to try and bring peace between his executives.
It might be possible, but the real issue here, what the meeting we wanted with the minister, which I said was General Mkonazi, Kumalo, General Sibia, himself, myself, was to discuss real issues on the PKTT.
Okay.
That just don't get time, but this one do get time.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Thanks. Maybe let's just clarify that one aspect. You say, let's leave the PKTT issue aside for now. You raised with the minister certain concerns that deal with your relationship with Lieutenant General Sibia. And you say you proposed a solution in dealing with that relationship. Did I understand your evidence correctly?
Yeah, that is correct.
And you say when the minister convened a meeting, those issues that you had raised with the minister were not addressed. In other words, if the minister has called this meeting to mediate based on the issues that you had raised, maybe I should ask you, were those issues that you had raised with him before dealt with in that meeting?
Not the real crux of the matter. Like I say, we dealt with issues of office. We didn't deal with serious issues that, especially around the working of General Sibia, which I think were the main issues. So we didn't delve into those matters.
And can I just ask, at that meeting, is that on the same day when the minister also met with General Mkhwanazi?
Yeah, it was in the same meeting, because he initially said they're going to meet General Sibia and Mkhwanazi himself, but later he says, no, I can sit into that meeting.
And as I understand, the point you are making in that paragraph is if these role players that had requested to meet with the minister to deal with an issue such as the PKTT could be convened by the minister for purposes of dealing with another issue, the minister could equally have accommodated these serious issues that you wanted to raise with him.
Yeah, no, he could have seriously accommodated issues of the PKTT, including disbandment, because that's where we wanted to discuss that issue.
And surely, even if let's separate that, you've dealt with that sufficiently.
Okay.
Surely a minister can't be criticized if he wants to intervene and address an issue relating to tension between his executives.
Well, given
in principle, forget this issue and how it happened and what you say was not addressed, etc. Just in principle, there wouldn't be anything wrong.
In principle, I think yes, it's accepted that yes, he can do that. He can intervene.
Yes. You take issue with what happened, not the principle itself.
No, not the principle, the content.
Okay. All right. If I can then ask you to move to para 176.
The cumulative effect of these dynamics became particularly salient as scrutiny intensified around the management and the fate of PKTT. The lack of a unified, transparent chain of communication left crucial operational parameters open to interpretation and debate, creating fertile ground for misstep and contagious decision-making. As the lines became as the lines between strategic direction and operational command grew increasingly indistinct, differing perspective on authority and mandate began to manifest, not only as abstract points of contention, but in practical decision with far-reaching consequences for investigations underway. Paragraph 177, it was with this environment that concern escalate the process and legitimacy of PKTT's disbandment. The interplay between ministerial prerogative and National Commissioner's executive obligations and the assertive interventions of senior officers such as Lieutenant General Sibia gave rise to uncertainty over who ultimately held the mandate to issue, interpret, and enforce instructions. These uncertainties were compounded by the perception among both internal stakeholders and external observers of fragmented oversight and lack of coherent leadership, threatening the integrity of both the team's task.
So the task teams?
The task team's ongoing work and the SAPS as an institution.
Okay. I think we'll deal with those conclusions, as I said, when you pull all of this together. The next topic that you deal with is a summary on the investigations into alleged misconduct by Lieutenant General Sibia. And if I can just indicate here, I'm not going to ask you to deal with all the paragraphs. I'm going to direct you to the ones that are pertinent, and of course the be commissioners as they've been doing. They'll deal with others to the extent that they may require clarification. And I preface this on the basis of what you set out here, that these issues, when you dealt with them, they may, on the face of them, appear to have been employment-related issues. But when viewed properly in context, they reveal something different. So with that in mind, if I can then ask you to deal with, commencing from paragraph 178, you indicate that you appointed Lieutenant General Pategile to investigate allegations of misconduct against Lieutenant General Sibia. And the key allegations, you outline them from paragraph 179. If I can ask you to please deal with those key allegations from paragraph 179.1 to 179.5.
Yeah. The key allegations included, number one, unauthorized instruction where Lieutenant General Sibia issued instruction to withdraw case dockets from the PKTT in KZN and brought them to Divisional Commissioner for Detectives. That is, the cases that were brought to the head office on the 17th January. There is a correspondence to that effect on the 4th February 2025, on 22 April 2025.
Proceed to the next one.
1792, defeating the cause of justice by issuing the above instructions. Lieutenant General Sibia is accused of intentionally hindering or delaying the investigation of the case dockets. 1794, improper conduct. Lieutenant General Sibia's action contravened the SAP's code of conduct and brought.
Did you not skip 1793?
Oh, sorry, Commissioner. Yes, 1793, insubordination. Instruction issued by Lieutenant General Sibia were in direct conflict with my approved phase-out plan for the disbandment of the task team. You'd remember the instructions on the 14th and 15th of January 2025. Number four, the improper conduct by Lieutenant General Sibia's actions allegedly contravened the code of conduct and brought SAPS into disrepute. Number five.
Sorry, before you go to 5, General, the conduct referred to in 179.4, is it the actions in point 2 and point 3? Which actions are you referring to in 179.4?
It is the actions from actually 179, from 1791, those actions. And 1795, alleged association, there are unsubstantiated allegations that Lieutenant General Sibia is association with individuals under investigation by SAPS, including Musi Matlala. This allegation, of course, requires further investigation.
Okay, so that's what was being looked into. 180, you talk about the methodology that was adopted by the investigator. Then if I can ask you to deal with paragraph 181.
The investigation reviewed multiple pieces of correspondence, including emails and letters, to understand the directives issued by Lieutenant General Sibia and their impact on the disbandment of the PKTT. Key communications from the Minister of Police, the National Commissioner, and Lieutenant General Sibia were analyzed. Moreover, the dockets that were transferred to division detectives were also analyzed. The process was detailed and comprehensive to ensure that all interests were taken into account.
And in 182, you deal with the findings of that investigation. Perhaps if I can ask you to deal with 182.2 to 182.4.
Uh, 182.2, the impact of the investigation, the unauthorized instruction issued by Lieutenant General Sibia resulted in the hindrance and delay of investigations into political killings in KZN. Non-compliance with the National Commissioner's plan, the Lieutenant General Sibia's actions were inconsistent with the phased-out plan approved by the National Commissioner presented to the Minister. 182.4, the unsubstantiated allegations of criminal association. While there are allegations of associations with individual under investigation, these remain unsubstantiated and require further criminal investigation.
Okay, and then in 183, you say the investigations concluded that there's sufficient evidence to justify a disciplinary hearing for Lieutenant General Sibia. In particular, the investigation found a prima facie case of serious misconduct, and his actions were deemed to have undermined the directives of the National Commissioner, hindered investigations, and constitute misconduct in terms of the SEP's disciplinary regulations and code of conduct. The matter has been referred for disciplinary hearing, and if you turn over the page, the investigation report is attached in Masemola 2 at pages 438 to 455. There's no need to go there. And you make the point in 184, if I can ask you to please continue from there. So 184 to 184.2.
Yeah, although the issues involved appear prima facie to be related to employment issues, one need to understand that Lieutenant General Sibia's conduct in its proper context. The context includes that as National Commissioner, I am the designated line manager for Lieutenant General Sibia, and all directives concerning his scope of authority must flow through my office. It was therefore wholly inappropriate for Lieutenant General Sibia to act directly on Minister's instruction, particularly in light of my explicit directive that such matters be handled by myself.
Can I just ask, did Lieutenant General Sibia report to the Minister? In fact, in relation to yourself and the Minister, if you can just tell the Commission who reported to who?
In terms of lines of command, he reports to me. But yes, he was reporting to the Minister directly now and then.
Yes, on what issues? And I think maybe,
Well,
perhaps my question was not specific. If I can just ask you to indicate in respect of which matters was he reporting to the Minister, and in respect of which matters was he reporting to you? Relative to the point that you're making here, that it was inappropriate for him to act directly on the Minister's instructions.
Yeah, well, in all matters, he is supposed to report to me directly in everything. But yes, one did pick it up that there are matters that he report directly to the Minister.
And is this one of them?
Including the matters of this, the PKTT, where he said, Minister this, Minister that. You have seen on the previous directive by Brigadier Khopoditata that he did say that also there that direction from the minister to Sibia says the following 1 to 3, which is one of those matters, but he's supposed to report directly to the National Commissioner.
And in fact, that's part of those issues that you raise that create institutional or confusion insofar as institutional authority is concerned, and you'd like the Commission to deal with it in its interpretation and recommendations, including part of the reforms. Correct?
Correct, but that one is a straightforward given, hence the disciplinary inquiry that is being taken, because it's not supposed to be that way. But yes, the Commission will assist in emphasizing such matters.
Mr. Madau, sorry. Who was the complainant in these allegations against Lieutenant General Sibia? Was it you, General, or was it somebody else?
Oh, it was myself.
Mr. Madau, sorry, if I may.
Yes, yes.
General, you may well have answered, but maybe I need a more specific answer. You may have anticipated my question. I was going to ask you if he was reporting directly to the minister on any issue, formally or informally, when in fact you are his line manager and he should be reporting to you, why has he not been why was that not included in the charges against him? You've already said, hence the disciplinary charges. Which specific rule would you say applies and would have been breached in this case? And maybe it's somewhere in 182.1?
Yeah, 182.1.
Yeah, but
Sorry, yes.
which one? Because you've got quite a number of references there. And it is really more to find out, is anything done about discipline, you know, when a person breaches discipline so obviously?
Yeah, if one look at, let me check on it. Well, 182.3 talk about non-compliance. So the Commissioner is looking specifically the one that says he was reporting directly.
So if you look at 182.1, perhaps, and I skipped that when I asked you to read these parts of your statement, but perhaps let's start with 182.1. You will see there, you say the investigation found that Lieutenant General Sibia contravened multiple provisions of the Sub-Disciplinary Regulations 2016, including Regulation 53B, Roman figure 1, which deals with prejudicing the interests of the service. Then Regulation 53F, failing to carry out lawful orders. And 53J, improper conduct, etc., etc. So the Commissioner Baloyi was asking you which rule does the point that you deal with in 184.1 relate. So relative to those regulations that are mentioned in 182.1, if you can have a look and see which ones relate to an instruction that's not followed or failure to act directly.
You will recall, Commissioners, that the 14th of January, 14 and 15 January 2025, I did twice explain or directed him on what to go and do. And when you look at that 182.1, Regulation 531, failing to carry out lawful orders, it will also include the instruction given that do 1, 2, 3, and he chose to do something else.
I guess my concern, General, is you complain that his conduct undermines the cohesion, for example, and the discipline of the SAPS, and yet he, on your account, he conducts himself in a way that is outside the lines, and specifically, instead of reporting to you directly, he's speaking to the minister on some issues. Now, I would think in any work environment, that would be a serious issue that is dealt with through disciplinary action or corrective measures. And you've listed complaints that were investigated by General Patekile because of his conduct. And on the face of it, it doesn't seem that any one of them includes this conduct, which in my view, maybe I'm wrong, think it's quite serious conduct, you know, that undermines the lines of authority, and you don't seem to have treated it as that serious. And if we are going to criticize him in our report, and I'm not saying we will, if we are going to be criticizing him on this aspect, maybe even the minister on this aspect, there will be the question of your role in it as a leader and his manager. That's why I'm asking you the question and asking you to comment on it.
Yeah, part of it is insubordination, which I know is carried somewhere in this regulation by passing and reporting somewhere else. That is insubordination. So I know it will be carried somewhere within the regulations that are here. But to be specific to that one that you asked, I think, yeah, on 1793.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. And perhaps just to go back to part of the evidence that you've already given, if you look at 183, the second last line, you say the matter has been referred for a disciplinary hearing. And in that regard, can I ask you, has a charge sheet been drawn up yet for that disciplinary hearing?
Thanks, Commissioners. I think maybe that part is quite a sensitive area in that we might end up trialing in absentia. The employer representative has been appointed, and the chairperson has been appointed, and it is the employer representative that will draw the charge sheet. So I'm not affair whether it is drawn and what is in there. I won't affair. It's a total neutral process away from me, and I don't need to know what is in that space. Thank you.
Thanks. We're just clarifying the status of where things are for purposes of the Commission's inquiry and perhaps inclination to say certain things in the report or not. But, if I can then ask you, you were dealing with, you had just dealt with 184.1, and then as part of providing evidence to say, although these seems prima facie to be employment-related issues, the context indicates differently, and you referred to 184.2 as part of that material. May I ask you to deal with that paragraph?
Yeah, subsequent to phone records obtained from an attempted murder accused, revealed communication implicating Lieutenant General Sibia in the forceful and immediate implementation of the Minister's directive to disband the PKTT. These records suggest that CBS actions were not merely procedural, but rather tied to deeper connections with individuals identified as members of the cartel. The timing and agency of his compliance appeared to align with imperatives to shield cartel members from ongoing investigation. This is the subject of an ongoing criminal investigations. The above issues related to General Sibiya culminated in an urgent litigation before the High Court, which the application of thereof we are aware it was dismissed.
And if one looks at paragraph 184.2, I think the point you are making there is the posture taken by General Sibiya is not, with the benefit of hindsight, coincidental. You say it was not merely procedural, but it was informed by other imperatives that you outline in that paragraph. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner. So what one is saying here is that all these actions of facilitated after we obtained the records from the attempted murder suspect, which is Ket Matlala, and when the team analyzed the communication thereof, then it became out clear that the whole purpose of the disbandment of the political killing task team was born out of the operation of the 6th December 2024, where Mr. Katiso Molefe, when he was arrested, and Ket Matlala's premises was searched in the look or pursuit of the kidnapped Mr. Jerry Bushura. So it ended up tying up that it looks like from there on, from that 6th December to 31st December, there were measures. This communication suggests that there were measures then to disband the political task team. You would recall then that I said earlier that those 10 members of PKTT that came to Gauteng to assist, obviously people were not aware that they are not alone, and they thought that dockets that were investigated in Gauteng went back to KZN. So if you disband the PKTT, it means the investigation in Gauteng will fall flat. And hence, the calling of dockets to head office is exactly to find these dockets of Gauteng, which I think, I know that Timsani Kumalo will allude to the fact that after these 121 dockets that were brought in, there was an insistence of further requests that bring all dockets, including the Gauteng dockets. So it showed very clear that the objective was to get the Gauteng dockets off the investigation.
If I can just...
For completeness, I do not want to rely on what's out there in the public domain. For the record, what was the litigation that you referred to in paragraph 185 about?
The litigation was, I did earlier this year in July, Honorable, Chairperson, I did give an order to General Sibiya to stay at home with a view to give us space to investigate the allegations made, including those made by Lieutenant General Mkonazi. And he challenged the move of staying at home. He took it to the High Court, which then that litigation, he lost the case because the court found that there was nothing wrong with the stay at home. and he has since been suspended, so he's still on suspension as we speak.
And perhaps just to deal with that issue of suspension, does the suspension have a time limit? And I'm trying to deal with that with reference to what you said earlier, that the matter has been referred to a disciplinary hearing.
Yeah, suspension do have time limits in terms of sub-disciplinary regulations is about 3 months.
Yeah, 60 days, is it not?
60 days, yes, which then the chairperson of that hearing can extend with another 30 days, which means that it's limited to 90 days.
And that's why I assume you said earlier that's a separate process, it will run its course.
Yes, it's, the disciplinary hearing is a separate matter. It will be handled separately.
Okay.
Are you moving to the next topic?
Excuse me?
Are you moving to the next topic?
Yes, I was going to go to the minister's motives and then come back to issues of relevance. In other words, to tie in what he's just dealt with.
Maybe let me hold my question.
Thank you. Thanks. Oh. No, sorry. I thought Commissioner Balo is going to ask a question, but...
Oh, I do have a question, but I thought if you are following a theme, let me not disrupt it.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. General, if I can ask you to skip from 185 to 188 under the topic Minister's Motives, because you are now at a part where you've dealt with what these investigations have revealed, and you've disclosed up to the limited extent that you could, bearing in mind what you had said yesterday, these criminal investigations that are currently underway have an element of sensitivity and confidentiality in them, for reasons that you mentioned. But if I could just ask you to tie what you've just testified upon up to 184 with what you deal with in 188 and 189.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioners. In respect of the Minister, knowing what I know now, what I consider to be irrational and inexplicable encroachment into operational issues is now explained by his desire to hold investigations against criminal cartels by disbanding the PKTT. By this I mean that evidence that has emerged which links the Minister to Brown Mkhosi, to Ket Matlala and Lieutenant General Sibia. So it is clear now that that arrest of Matlala in May have assisted us to understand the real motive of the disbandment of the political killings task team. Because you would remember we asked reasons and it came, we don't mind, well, when does an order come? It came 31st of December 2024, after 1700 hours in the afternoon and in a rush. Why the rush? The phone records of Matlala eventually did indicate to us that actually since December, operation of the 6th December 2024, that's when there was a planning to disband this political killings task team, of course, to prevent it from further doing the work that they were doing in Gauteng. So those, the investigators will come with those specific recordings to indicate that there was discussion about this team's lifespan and that it should be disbanded. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is now one understands the reason why Lieutenant General Sibia and the Minister, Brown Mkhosi and Ket Matlala, wanted to disband the team. There was no any other motive but to prevent the investigation against the cartels in Gauteng that are involved in murder, drugs, and so on.
You were with the minister at a funeral in KZN 3 days before the instruction to disband, not so?
I didn't catch that, Commissioner.
You were at a funeral in KZN with the minister 3 days before the instruction to disband, not so?
That is
on the 28th of December 2024.
that is correct, Commissioner. We spent the day at that funeral, and there was nothing that the minister raised that might be a worry or complaint by anybody about the political killing stars team. He never said anything about this team's disbandment or even to indicate that I intend doing this. That was never at all. We did the funeral, we parted nicely, and he knew that I was going on leave because he approved my leave. And so the letter came as a surprise. And of course, the timing of it and the fact that the letter also said it must be done immediately. Of course, I interpret immediately as that probably it means it should have been disbanded. By the time I come back, the 14th, the team should not have been there. But luckily, the office did ask me direction as to how do we deal with this matter. Then I said to them, just prepare reports because the next feedback date is the 20th of January. Don't do anything other than prepare reports. Hence, when I get back to work, there was this speedy response by General Sibia to make me sign a letter to Kumalo, which I refused. Second day, I advised him how to do it. Second day, he came with the same letter, which I again refused and said, no, I'll do the matter myself. But whatever drove him, which I wouldn't know what it is, but now we know, he still issued those instructions to General Kumalo. But from my side as the National Commissioner, I've never said Kumalo either close or disband the team. I never said to Lieutenant General Mkonazi either close or disband the team. I kept on managing the situation through a proposal to wind down the team and wanted to find a finality about this winding down. Even though, yes, I had suspicion right from the word go, when there was no motive coming forth as to why is the team being disbanded. And there was any reason whatsoever. So, but eventually, the real reason came. Unfortunately, the WhatsApp messages did come on the 13 or 14 May 2024 from Matlala's phone.
And maybe just to tie up that aspect on this basis, if you knew then what you know now, would you have approached the instruction or the directive by the minister that was given on 31 December 2024 the same way, or would you have approached it differently?
If I knew, I mean, right at the beginning.
Then, yes. Because remember, you dealt with the interactions from yesterday, that your actions were informed by what you knew at that time and what you did not know, which you then got to know later. I think the answer to that should be obvious. I think we can deal with it with the commission. I don't think I need to, but I thought just for completeness.
Well, if I knew then that the motive is to prevent this, the team, then I would have not even went as far as trying to suggest to the minister that because you want to close this team urgently, abruptly, let's rather wind down. I wouldn't even have went as far as that. So I would have outright refused the disbandment if I knew that that is the motive.
I was dealing with that because, I mean, one of the things that is anticipated is that you somehow participated and acquiesced to the disbandment of this team. But I think your evidence makes it clear that you didn't know at the time. But if you had known, as you say, you would not even have participated by suggesting even that phased wind down.
That's correct, Commissioners.
Okay. If I can then ask you to deal with one last matter before you make your concluding remarks. In paragraphs 186 to 187, you deal with other issues of relevance, and part of those are complaints against the PKTT. If I can ask you to deal with those two paragraphs. The second one we've already dealt with earlier, but let's just complete it. 186 and 187.
Yeah, since the establishment of the PKTT, a professor or associate professor, Meriti Haas, lodged numerous complaints against the PKTT, ranging from irregular formation and conduct, malicious arrest and corruption, the use of torture, abuse of to persecute individual, political interference and cover-ups, questionable leadership, effectiveness and wasteful spending, and disappearance of case files. As far as I'm aware, there is no substance to those complaints. Additionally, these complaints were made to the IPID, I'm aware, they were made to Parliament. An example to demonstrate the lack of substance, Mr. Haas complained about a Sergeant Lamini who went on, ended up being convicted by a court of law. So it is complaints that really did not hold any substance, and they keep complaining.
And you said this happened at the instance of the PKTT itself. That is, I'm saying the prosecution of Sergeant Dlamini happened at the instance of the PKTT. That's how I understood your evidence earlier.
Evidence.
Or am I mistaken?
No, not correct, Commissioner. The complaints about Sergeant Dlamini happened halfway mid-life of the PKTT. But Ms. Meriti has complained about...
But what I'm saying is, who initiated that? Was it not the PKTT itself that initiated the criminal process against Sergeant Dlamini? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
at the time it happened.
It was the PKTT themselves, Commissioner.
Yes, because you had indicated that he was one of the team members, and it was his fellow team members that actually were able to detect acts of criminality which have led to a conviction in a court of law.
Yeah, that is correct, Commissioners. And of course, I'm sure IPID can talk better on the complaints by Ms. Meriti Haas. She complained all the time. It is, and not only about the PKTT, but about other matters of policing. So it's not uncommon for her to complain.
If I can then ask you to turn to page 62, under your conclusion.
Mr. Mdau, perhaps let me ask my question at this point, and it's become two questions now, or two topics. And maybe let's start with these complaints against the PKTT. General, earlier when we were looking at the report that you gave to the minister, I think there was a briefing, and you had in there, you have a heading about complaints against the PKTT. You remember that? Yes. And you had listed what in the end sounded like not accusations but complaints when I read them. Now, when I consider that and I look at your paragraph 186, on paragraph 186, it sounds like the what you call complaints by Ms. DeHaas, and I don't know if she's the only one, they seem to be serious. There's one of them is irregular formation and conduct of the PKTT, malicious arrests, corruption, use of torture, abuse to persecute individuals, political interference and cover-ups, questionable leadership, ineffectiveness and wasteful spending, and disappearance of case files. Now, all of those topics on the face of it are serious topics or complaints to raise or accusations to make. My question is, when these complaints or matters like this are raised, whether by Professor DeHaas or anyone, does the SAPS investigate them and make its own findings? I know there's IPID, and hopefully we will eventually get something from IPID. General Mkhwanazi did testify to this and said there's a report of IPID on something. But I'm more interested in the SAPS itself. What do you do when you've received complaints about a task team in this way? Do you address them, or do you just say, go speak to IPID, or you just brush them off because your business is to investigate crime and make sure it gets prosecuted?
When we receive complaints, if they, when you receive the complaint, if they looks like that there is a substance, we do investigate. The immediate commander is then responsible to initiate investigation in terms of the disciplinary regulations of the SAPS, and some of this will be given to the division called National Inspectorate. So if one can go to that division, there will be files about all complaints of Ms. Mary DeHaas, which majority of them they found no substance. For example, one of the complaints ranging from irregular formation. Me and you, we know this PKTT was not irregularly formed. I mean, there were ministers, there were DGs and commissioners that engaged in the formation to end up coming with a mandate. So the first one already, you know that is neither here nor there. So, but we do have inspectorate division that have got files and files around the investigations. Well, I wouldn't say all. Well, some where they found something tangible, then they would inform the commander that here there is substance, take disciplinary steps, and that will normally happen.
The second, and it's a different topic. Now, when General Mkhwanazi testified, he referred, maybe let me start first, ask the question this way. You were appointed National Commissioner in March 2022. Did General Sibiya find you there in that position already? I don't remember what date of appointment we were given of his, but were you already National Commissioner when he was appointed?
That's correct, Commissioner was.
All right. So then, following on that, then General Mkhwanazi testified that at some point, before General Mkhwanazi was appointed, someone from the office of the city manager of Johannesburg alerted.
So General Sibiya.
Oh, General, what did I say?
It's before General Sibiya was appointed. Sorry.
What did I say? Did I say Mkhwana? I'm sure by the end of the commission I'll get the names right. Yes. So General Mkhwanazi testified that before General Sibiya was appointed, someone from the city manager, Johannesburg city manager's office, wrote to
Mr. Mlandu.
Mr. Mlandu, yes, thank you. Wrote to Minister Cele and raised concerns that General Sibiya was being considered or was to be appointed to the position that he holds presently. and made certain allegations about his employment at the city of Johannesburg, and effectively was saying he shouldn't be appointed. He's not suitable to be appointed to that position. Would you have received that kind of correspondence, or did you become aware of that kind of concern about him?
I saw that correspondence first time on television, so I never received it, and I'm sure if any section, especially the HR environment of the SAPS, if they did receive such, they would have brought to my attention. But what I'm aware of is that there was a labor appeals court case judgment that came out in May 2022. The sitting was somewhere in March before my appointment. The judgment which held that his dismissal by the then national head of DPCI was unfair, and the dismissal was overturned. So, which then paved the way that General Sibiya should be reinstated into the SAPS, and he was reinstated in July 2022 and placed at the post of head of organized crime in the detective services.
When you say you saw it on TV, that letter, was it after he had been appointed to the position or before?
In TV, I mean now recently,
I
after General Mkhwanazi was at the commission.
Okay.
That's when I saw it for the first time.
Now, as National Commissioner, when an appointment such as this, which is a direct report to you, is to be made, the position is advertised, the candidate is interviewed, and is whatever processes you follow, is that a matter that you become involved in, the selection of is it a divisional, Deputy National Commissioner, sorry? Do you become involved in that selection process?
That's correct, yes, I become involved. But the selection for Deputy National Commissioners is not as you described. The positions normally don't get advertised. There is a section in the Police Act which make provision for appointment without advertisement, and it is that section that is being used. So he was
Yes.
appointed in terms of that section, and the minister has to concur also on such an appointment.
Yes. So my emphasis and area of interest really is your involvement in that process that culminates in him being appointed to the position. Ordinarily, if such a letter had been sent, if indeed that letter was sent from the city of Johannesburg, you should ordinarily have become aware of it. Is that a fair proposition?
Yeah, no, it is correct.
And in this case, you never became aware of it?
No, I never became aware of, but I became aware that there was an inquiry and a case opened at the city of Johannesburg. One case was about purchasing of some equipment or alleged buying equipment. The one case was for about his appointment.
Yes.
And those cases were investigated by the DPCI. They conducted a thorough investigation and concluded that on the one for spying equipment, it was concluded that General Sibiya did not contravene the National Strategic Intelligence Act. However, the case docket was still referred to the National Prosecuting Authority, which the National Prosecuting Authority did give feedback that there is no, they did not prosecute Sibiya in this case. In one case, the one that he was appointed to City of Johannesburg, they say he's not a suspect, he didn't appoint himself. On the other one, there were even letters from state security that did allude somewhere in early June, July, alluded that the equipment is not intelligence gathering, and eventually the DPP declined to prosecute in those cases.
All right. Let me explain my interest, General. My interest is whether you as National Commissioner and your subordinate or immediate report is being appointed, the nature of your involvement in that process, whether you became aware at that point of the allegations against him, and if you did become aware of them, did you do anything about it? How come he was still appointed if you did become aware of these allegations at that point? What is your short and crisp answer? You were aware when he was selected, or you were not aware?
Yeah, I was aware of these matters that I'm talking about. I
Yes.
became aware. One was an inquiry, one was a case, but I wasn't aware of that specific letter.
You were not aware of the allegations about the city of Johannesburg?
The letter that you spoke about, I don't know exactly what that letter contained, because I don't have it now, but I'm aware of the matter of the procurement of technical surveillance equipment. Yes, I was
And
aware of that.
If I may interrupt you, I think what I'm trying to determine is whether you did not consider that kind of allegation whether you did or did not consider it as a disqualifying concern in appointing him to the position.
At that point, I think the matter that was the issue of the appointment, and we did not consider that as a matter that would disqualify him to be re-enlisted, because we were not actually employing him, we were re-enlisting him back to the position where he was, which it can be any other position. And if there is a matter that has to be dealt with, if it's within the service, we would deal with it. So in this case, we re-enlisted him, and the two matters, as I said, they ended up being declined, both of them.
Perhaps just to also just correct myself a bit. In fact, General Mkhwanazi's evidence was he came in, you call it re-enlisting, into one position, and then within a very short space of time, he was now Deputy Commissioner, the position that he currently holds. And so maybe my question to you should have been, but when he was made Deputy Commissioner, the position that he currently holds, these allegations, you would have known about them if you did, and did you consider that it didn't matter? It's not serious concerns, or they are unsubstantiated, so we will appoint him anyway.
Those allegations, they did matter, but by the time he was appointed Deputy National Commissioner, they were already settled by the NPA, both of those matters. And of course, there is other criteria that one look at when you appoint a Deputy National Commissioner.
Mr. Matau, before you go to the conclusion, we will deal with the last sentence of the conclusion, and then you will tell us who we attribute that language to, but we'll deal with that later. For now, let's go to 168 and 169 of the statement. I was just not clear what point is being made there, and maybe you can deal with it with the witness. (168) and 169 of the statement on page 54. It is just not clear to me whether it is being suggested that the minister did anything untoward.
Thanks. I think maybe let's go back, because I had said I'll come back to it. but I thought it got cleared in the course of the evidence, but let's just tidy that up. General, in 168 and 169, you made 2 points. The first point that you make in paragraph 168 is the minister's intervention in questioning the performance of the service provider that had been appointed based on the concerns that had been raised, and that triggered an investigation into that contract with Medicare 24. You dealt with it in paragraph 168, you recall? Do you recall that you dealt with that?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Yes. And then you say in 169, on the conspectus of the facts that have now been revealed, I wonder whether at the time of triggering this investigation, the minister was aware that Brown Mokhotsi and Kat Matlala were associates, and that if he did, would he have triggered it being that investigation? Perhaps just again to tie it back to the evidence that you've now given of the connections and the links that have been established by the investigation, perhaps if you could deal with 168 and 169 as well in that basket of issues.
Yeah, Commissioner, what one is saying here is that the minister, before the 24th of December, he did allude that there is this contract that is for health risk management in the subs, and is briefed or tipped somewhere that there is problems around this specific service provider, and which I also did indicate to him that somewhere in the year before the relevant committees awarded the tender to him, I did get a call from the IDEC to say, looks like there is problem around the awarding of this contract, which then at that point one did check whether there is compliance to prescripts, and one found that no, it is compliance. So the minister then in December raised that looks like there is a problem around this specific tender. Then we agreed with him to have a meeting, and that meeting was held on the 24th of December, which we then got a briefing in terms of how this contract is performing. And there were a bit concerns around various issues, amongst them performance or delivery of service around this contract. And I then directed that, together with the minister, that there should be an audit of this contract. So then the audit was performed, which culminated in a report that identified a lot of things like, I think, funding, corruption, and whatever, fraud, let me say fraud, which eventually that led to me, 13 May, then cancelling the contract. So paragraph 169, what it is saying is that now, knowing what we know now, the question is, by the time the minister raised an alarm on this contract, did he know that this specific person was his funder, yes or no? We don't know. But what we know is that at some point during the charts, the communication between Abu Brown Mokhotsi, Matlala, and so on later in December, they do indicate somewhere in those communications that the person that the minister raised the alarm on the contract is actually our funder. So what we are saying on 168 and 169, we're saying that the minister raised an alarm on the 168 On 169, what we're saying is, knowing what we know now, we don't know whether the time he raised alarm, did he know that this person is one of his associates or not? That's the context of these two paragraphs.
Of his associates or an associate of his alleged associate?
Yes, whether he's associates or associates of his alleged associate, whether he was aware, we don't know.
General, I'm still not clear. Was the minister raising alarm about issues of payment or issues of performance, or even how the contract came about? It's not clear to me what we are dealing with here. So
He was raising the alarm on how this contract came about, and whether are we sure that this contract was done properly. In short, what I can say there is that's why you see there I wrote Medicare 24 Tshwane District. So during the investigation by the audit, well, I wouldn't know specifically what he got, but he raised about how the contract was ended up with the specific person. So, but during the audit, it was found that at some point the service provider was Medicare, and at some point it was Medicare 24. And these committees, the bid evaluation committee and the bid adjudication committee, somebody didn't see through that we're not dealing with one company, we're dealing with two, which eventually then it became clearer that actually the Medicare 24 Tshwane District was fronting Medicare, not themselves. So, which was one of the conditions of the contract that they shouldn't front, they should. So it was cancelled based on those grounds. It's not only this one that I'm mentioning, but it was quite a number of various grounds. But yes, when he was raising the alarm was that he think the contract was not regularly awarded.
And my last question was, are you suggesting that there's anything untoward with the minister raising alarm about this contract?
No, I'm not saying there is anything untoward. It's good that what he did. But what I was saying is, later when you realize that this person might be an associate of his associate, whatever, when he was raising alarm, did he know that? That's the question I'm raising, which I don't have an answer for. Yes.
Thank you, General. I think if we can then go to the conclusion. I'm trying to get there quickly while the commissioners are formulating the next question. In 190 and 191, if I can ask you to please deal with your concluding remarks.
Yeah, it is deeply, on paragraph 190, it is deeply unfortunate that these events have occurred, as they do not only erode public trust in the integrity of SAP's leadership, but also risk undermining critical investigation into politically motivated crimes. The disregard of established protocol and the apparent willingness to act outside the chain of command jeopardize the transparency and accountability at the heart of effective policing. Moreover, the shadow of alleged criminal associations, even if yet unproven, cast doubt over the credibility of ongoing investigations and the impartiality of officers involved. In the context where the stakes are the pursuit of justice and the safety of communities, such lapses threaten to weaken the foundational principle upon which the police service relies and diminish public confidence in law enforcement as a whole. I've been asked about the key reforms that would assist within the police service. I would, although I intend to make comprehensive submission in this regard, at a later stage. I would like to highlight that the police minister's role needs to be urgently defined, especially in light of there being a minister on leave and the acting minister of police.
Thank you. General, is there anything that you would like to say, if perhaps there is, that you could not put across because you didn't get an appropriate question perhaps to deal with it? And if there is none, there isn't as well. I'm just checking whether there is anything that you feel you need to highlight or indicate to the Commission.
Maybe just to deal with, I think there was, during General Mkonazi's testimony, there was some question around the Richards Bay deployment. So I just want to...
The what deployment? Or Richards Bay?
Richards Bay deployment. I just want to allude to the fact that indeed, yes, there was deployment that he withdrew, and we sent national deployment because there were complaints that there is a problem. There were executives of Richards Bay Minerals or RMB that were killed, and there was a need to investigate those cases, which eventually the team that was sent from national, when they were there, I think one of the suspects was shot either by both teams or the team from the provinces, from the province. And there were quite a number of firearms recovered in that operation, and there was nothing sinister about that, the operation. We always do get calls. Even currently we have operations in Northwest, in the mines where people are mining. In certain areas, they mine behind houses. So the coaches there, they do complain and send us what is happening. So we do deploy. Even in Eastern Cape, there was complaint around taxi violence. We sent a team there. And the very same PKTT that we are talking about today, there was complaint about political matters in KZN, and we do deploy and will continue doing that. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
On this, General, I understood General Mkhwanazi, at least one of the issues being that the deployment, this deployment from national was made without him being brought into the loop or being aware of it. The next thing he knew, there was this special task force, and I think he said the National Intervention Unit, and he didn't know anything about it. How do you, in those cases where from national you deploy into a province because of a specific request, a specific issue, what is the process, your communication process with the provincial commissioner? Or even the district, because I think I heard him mention a district commissioner. And in this case, he seemed to suggest that even the district commissioner was not aware. They called him because there was an issue, and then he said, I don't know anything about this. How does it work in terms of process?
Yeah, normally when we do done by the relevant deputy or what we call National Operational Command Center, they will draft a call-up. It will be signed and sent to whoever must deploy and the province. Well, I think in that deployment, we did pick it up very late that the person that, for some reason, correspondence never reached province, and when you deploy in the province, you must report to the provincial commissioner that I'm here, I'm coming here to do 1, 2, 3. Because some deployment might be with the knowledge and consent or agreement of the provincial commission. Some might not be with the consent or permission, but it might be sent from head office because of the problem that is foreseen there. An example of that is deployment, I think, in the that's going to deal with taxi violence in both Eastern Cape and Western Cape. But the provincial commissioner will be informed. He might not want or like the deployment, but if there is such, he will be informed, and whoever is deploying the province must report him or herself to the relevant provincial commissioner.
As I understood it, part of the complaint by General Mkhwanazi was that these members that were deployed at the mine over time sort of became the mine's subs-unit, because they ended up no longer doing exclusively the work they were deployed for, but rather they would even do theft cases and whatever other types of criminal matters the mine would complain about. Do you want to comment on that? Do you know how that came about?
Well, what I know, Commissioner, is that members deployed, they will deploy and fight crime. If they end up doing some things that they are not supposed to, then the commander who becomes aware of that then needs to raise the alarm and it get addressed. But theft is a crime, is something that police needs to deal with.
But they were sent there for specific types of crimes. It's not as if there were no subs members in the area who would have continued to do subs work. So with regard to those thefts, the subs in the area should have continued to do that type of work. And I would have thought that these members would concentrate only on what they were deployed there for.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Commissioner, but that is more cooperation then and liaison and communication between the deployed team and the local police to say what you do and what I'm doing, what I'm here for.
So basically then, must I understand you to be saying there was no cause for complaint at all if these members deployed for a specific purpose were now suddenly doing every and anything? So there was no cause for concern about that?
Well, if they do any other extra for what they're not being called for, as long as it's crime and they are not fighting or arriving at scene with the locals, there is nothing wrong.
Thank you, General.
General, I would be concerned with that answer if the deployed units are the Special Task Force and the National Intelligence Unit. I wouldn't expect them to be doing common theft matters.
I would agree with you, Commissioner, on that specific one. And in this case, it was not those two units. I will agree with you. NIU and Special Task Force are solely used for medium to high risk operations. So here, as far as I know, it wasn't either of those two units.
All right, okay, I won't dwell on it. I think he said it's those two units, but let me ask you a different, it's not even a question really. You, in that paragraph, in that concluding paragraph, you do say, and you've mentioned it now, that you've been asked about key reforms you think would assist the police service and you intend to make submissions. Can I suggest that when you do that, when you consider that, you have regard to term of reference 5, which is, you also take that into account. It requires us to comment on or to look at the effectiveness or failure of oversight mechanisms. That's term of reference 5. And then 6, it's the adequacy of current legislation, policies, and institutional arrangements in preventing such infiltrations. Of course, the infiltrations being of criminal cartels or criminal syndicates. If you would just have regard to those as well, more specifically.
I will do so, Commissioner. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Mto.
Chair and members of the Commission, that concludes the evidence on behalf of the National Commissioner.
General, Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one housekeeping issue. I know, Commissioner Baloyi, I owe you references to particularize SFM 6 and SFM 3. I do have them, but perhaps just to be tidy, if I can just hand them over so that there is evidence that I did. And that will be attended to and formally handed up. And just to conclude, there is a co-pilot who was also essential in this team and in the preparation of the work that was done. She joined us late because she had been deployed, but did not exceed the scope of her deployment where she was deployed. Her name is Advocate Thabang Bowe. I'd like to give an acknowledgement of her presence and her participation in the matter.
Welcome, Ms. Bowe.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's not 4 o'clock yet. What do we do next?
Chair,
Are
may
we calling the next witness?
Chair, I unfortunately can't accuse you of encroachment when you raise that. But Chair, if we could request that we stand down, also given the lateness of the hour, then we'll prepare the next witness that will be leading. And with your leave, if we could please commence on Thursday at 9:30.
Thank you, Mr. Mdau. Let us adjourn and resume at 9:30 on Thursday. Thank you.